Opening the doors now.
Hi, everyone. Just letting you know that this is being recorded and it's also going to be live streaming on YouTube. We're just going to give it a few minutes for everybody to enter the room and for the live streaming to begin, and then we'll start today's event. For those of you just joining, we're live streaming and we're waiting for that to start. And as soon as that does, we'll begin the event. And also just letting you know that the event is being recorded today. I see a question about whether there are two sessions running concurrently. Yep, that's correct. We're here in this main room for the, well, I'll give you all those details in just a moment. We're just waiting to go live on YouTube, and as soon as that starts, we'll begin the event. Okay.
You're live.
Here we are. So hi, everyone, and welcome to the second day of the Asia for Animal Coalition's very first AfA Connect, which is a series of online events. And we just launched it yesterday with a very nice day of other sessions. It's great to see you all here today. On behalf of AfA and our members, I thank you all for joining us. My name is Brooke, and I'm the Deputy CEO of AfA, and I also run one of its working groups, which is the Macaque Coalition. Before the sessions begin, I would like to run you through some housekeeping items. So this will only take a few minutes. Please remember that this event is being live streamed via YouTube, and it will remain there for people to watch later. Please ensure that your camera is off and you're muted during the presentations. Some people joining us today are from places with quite remote or have bad internet connections or whatever. So the fewer cameras on, the better potential everybody has to have a good streaming experience. For those of you joining via Zoom, if you want to enable auto captions to get captions in different languages, you can click more at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then click on captions and set your language to the language that you wish. Please also set your screen name to the name that you registered with so that we can tell who's been able to join us here today. If you have any questions, please place them in the chat box in either Zoom or YouTube, and we'll have people passing these on to the moderators of each session. They'll be put together and we will address as many of them as we can during the sessions. So just a brief note about who we are. The Asia for Animals Coalition is not only the largest animal protection network in Asia, but by membership, we're also the largest animal protection membership network in the world. AFA is composed of 26 core member organizations representing an array of animal protection and advocacy organizations. There are more than 300 organizations in our network. AFA has undergone dramatic growth over the past few years, and we're now a team of 15 staff coordinators spread across 6 countries, all dedicated to helping organizations help animals. At its core, AFA is about uniting voices for the animals of Asia. We help organizations collaborate in various ways, for example, investigations, campaigns, or reports. We provide a platform for the sharing of resources, knowledge, and experience, and a central point for networking and connecting. The movement to help animals is stronger when we are united and when we collaborate. By working together, we can be more efficient and we can have a better impact and a bigger impact. To enable some specific areas of focus, we run 7 different working groups, which bring our members together to collaborate on particular areas of animal advocacy, such as social media animal cruelty, policy work, capacity, issues facing farm animals, macaques, and sanctuaries and rescue centers. This event's theme, is an inside job, the importance of supporting within-country advocates. The event is spread across 2 days, this is the second, and guest speakers will share their experiences and lessons learned about why it is so important to understand, support, and collaborate with those working on the ground for animals as a clear and successful strategy to create a better future for all animals. Today will consist of 2 sets of concurrent sessions. First, in the main room, which is where we are, the Dog and Cat Coalition will start with the crucial role of regional grassroots groups in dog and cat welfare. At the same time, in the breakout room, the AFA Policy Coalition will be presenting the significance of securing accreditation, understanding the process and its impact. After the break, the Farm Animal Coalition will bring you A Humane World Starts From Your Plate. And over in the breakout room, we'll talk about fundraising, budgets, and core costs. Oh, can we go back 1 slide, please? Sorry. So if you want to go to the other room, so we're in the main room here. If you want to go to the other session, so this morning it will be the policy session, the significance of securing accreditation. What you have to do is go over to the breakout room. Find breakout rooms along the bottom of your screen. It might be with those 3 little dots that says more. Click on this and join breakout room 2. When you want to come back to the main room, look in the bottom right of your screen and find leave room. That's it. Okay. So now, the time is now to go to the other room if that's where you're starting. And I'm going to introduce our first session here in the main room, which is the crucial role of regional grassroots groups in dog and cat welfare. And I'm passing over to Lynn, who is our host for this session now.
Hello everyone. Hope you can hear me clearly. Welcome to the session for the Dog and Cat Coalition. We are delighted to have you join us today. First, let me introduce our speaker. Today we have Anthony from Himalayan Animal Rescue Trust. Anthony always told me that she has so many stories, and all of her stories I personally found them very helpful and informative, and it's really great that we can hear more from her today. And we also joined by Greg and Lily Anna from Kathmandu Animal Treatment Center of Nepal. Greg has always been a great support to AFA, and he has been instrumental in fostering cooperation between organizations and supporting local initiatives. And for those who attended the AFA conference in Malaysia last year, you may already familiar with Liliana, remarkable and emotional speaker there. She shared her inspiring program aimed at encourage prisoners to join hands and care for the animals. So for the first topic, we will talk about the importance of encouraging grassroots NGO, local NGO enjoy in the movement. So we can start now. And Anthony, Greg, and Liliana, can you hear us? And please unmute yourselves so we can start the session.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, so let's start with our first topic. And can you share with us like some example story of empowering local organization in leading and improve the community animals welfare? Maybe we start with Anthony.
Thank you, Lynn. Right. So today we are talking about the grassroots organization, and HEART itself is quite a small organization in itself. We are a grassroots organization ourselves. So I think we have the perspective of working on it and working for it in both the ways. One of the first things that we have to understand as working for animals is that in countries like Nepal, animal welfare or animal issues are not a common conversation topic. It is not something that we speak about a lot. Hence, there are a lot of things that need changing. And I think even in our last conversations, we have realized that even within Asia, there is so much difference in the different backgrounds, the cultural backgrounds, and how it affects the working of not just, of all organization, a big organization or grassroots organization. So the first thing that I think I could speak, because we are primarily based in Pokhara, and we've been working here since 2010. The first thing that we have to understand is identifying the groups, right? So there are different people working here. So some of them are individuals who are working on their personal level. So we have quite a many feeders here in Pokhara who have, taken on to the responsibility of feeding the dogs around them, the cats around them. And then there are certain groups, a couple of people, young people in particular, who feed the dogs or even help with the rescues, who bring the dogs to us, because we primarily work with dog and cats. So we see a lot of them. And there are groups that, they bring the dogs to us. So there's a personal people working at an individual level, and then there are small groups of people, and then there are organizations like us. So in Pokhara, for now, we are the only organization working. So these are the three different groups, or different types or kinds of the people that we work with. And when we speak about grassroots, I think it's a very generic term, but understanding how the interrelationship between all of this work, because as an organization ourselves, we cannot do everything. There are certain limitations that we have. People feeding have certain limitation, and I think even within that particular group, it is all about how we can help each other and overcome those limitations. So I think that is the first thing that we have to understand as grassroots organization.
And Greg and Liliana, do you have any stories to share with us?
Yeah, one story that we're both involved in is the city of Kathmandu is doing a large-scale dog sterilization program. And instead of working with a big global animal organization, they decided to collaborate with 9 local organizations and vet clinics. And so they divided up the city into, the different wards are being covered by different organizations. And to me, I think this is a fantastic example of small organizations working with each other and also working with government to make a difference. So it's, the funding is provided by the municipality, and they set a schedule and they assign different parts of the city to different organizations, and then we each do the work. And so I think I feel like this is a great example of just empowering these local organizations. Of course, funding is a struggle for almost everyone working here. And so by the municipality providing the funding, that's sort of the key piece, and the coordination as well. And and actually, Lily, do you want to talk about the more data side of it?
Yeah, can everyone hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So instead of just doing the ABC program and running around catching dogs and not knowing exactly, or not having a program to do that, with the KMC, we have established that we are going to use a systematic way. We're going to use an application that the 9 different organizations are going to be trained on, and CAT is going to do that for them, and for the KMC too, so they are able to manage all the data that's going to be going to them. But the interesting part is that out of all the 9 organizations, only CAT has used an app to collect the data on the dog surveys and the dog sterilizations and etc. And other organizations, but the other ones have not. So we do not really know the impact that, each ABC program that the KMC and in Kathmandu has done, the impact that it's had. So if we want to measure that, if we want to understand that, and we want to really do something that is going to last for long, it's going to be sustainable, we need to understand what we're doing. And maybe one-on-one we cannot do that, but now we have the opportunity to do it at a big scale, based on grassroots organizations like ours. Now we can do it at a big scale, and if we maintain it and we are able to do it throughout the time, we're going to see the changes throughout all the what is it called? All the actions that we put in place to reduce the dog population on the streets, the roaming dogs, etc. So I think it's a very good opportunity to bring all these organizations, small organizations, together and share a common goal and share the same apps and the same tools to make it happen.
I completely agree with Liliana. I think keeping a track of the progress is very important in order to have a measure of how well it has been or how effective the program has been. And I think this is a conversation we have had many times, even in the past, in regards to the dog population management, about having a proper measure of it, and whether how much is enough. Whether we do 100%, is it possible? Whether we do 80%, and absolutely, keeping records is important. I would like to add a little to that. So while we talk about the collaborations with the municipalities, so we have also had the wonderful opportunity of working with several municipalities in Nepal. So now that the winter has subsided, our team is now working with municipalities, and there is a reason why the municipalities are reaching out to the grassroots organizations, so organizations that provide the neutering facilities. Is I think many might know that now the culling in Nepal is not legal. You cannot do it. But the issue of the street dog and the population management of the dogs remains a big problem. So what do the municipalities do then? The only option left is sterilization. But unfortunately, here in Nepal, a lot of times the veterinary itself is in a very embryonic stage. The treatment facilities are there's a lot we could do in that regard. And surgery is complicated. It's not easy. Not everybody provides the surgical facilities. Not, unfortunately, everybody has that. And particularly with street dogs, it gets even trickier. Because while working in different areas, when we are working in the Tarai region, which is the South Plains, we have realized that catching dogs is a lot more tricky. Very tricky, because of the constant conflict, between the humans and the dogs. There's groups of dogs that are threatening the locals, so the locals retaliate. So the dogs don't like them. Locals don't like the dogs, and because there are too many of them, there's always a conflict, and this makes our job difficult. Because what happens is every time when we go for a dog catching, the dogs are traumatized by the past experiences. So it's very difficult to catch them. And then we have to, run through the rice fields with the net in the hand. And so often we have had, our members come with half mud, soaked up to knee, muds and water and whatnot. So while working with the municipalities, there's a lot of, the differences in there, but because they don't have those facilities, they have been kind enough to reach out to us. So we provide technical support. Organizations that are already in the field of dog neutering, who have done it, who have experienced it, we can share it with the municipalities who are willing to do it and encourage them to do the same and teach them, this is how you can do it, how to catch the dogs, how to handle the dogs, what are the equipments that we need. And I think this is where the organizations, and even most importantly, the grassroots organizations play a very important role, because they're very easy to connect with the municipalities. Another important thing about grassroots organization is, and I think it's why important, is we understand the context. We've seen it all. We have been there. We understand how people think. We understand how the people in the government think. So we can actually be that bridge between the locals and the government, and even help, laying out the different solutions to this problem. And because we have seen it so often, and I know Lynn keeps telling about the stories I tell. And I think these are the stories. That is why we understand the concept. You see, if there is a reaction, what has caused that reaction? And we can, when it comes from a neutral person, like organization, people take it a little more seriously, So the same thing, maybe sometimes people might not believe when they hear it from people they know, but when people like organizations working from them and we tell them the exact same thing, I don't know, it just becomes a lot more authentic for people. And, that helps the situation a lot. So this is why the working with the municipalities has, become such an important part. And while we talk about the apps, we also have a dog data app that Heart uses to keep track of the vaccination. So you can also see it on the dogdata.uk, because we also very strongly believe that keeping records and a track of the progress is super important. So if you have a chance, you can go through the website as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about the small local-based organizations are, you're there for the long term. You're not just coming in to do a project and moving to a different country to do a different project. So it's a lot, it puts you in a really strong position for building trust with government officials and with community members in a way that I think an organization based in another country would struggle to do, or it's just more, it can be more challenging. Oh, one thing I wanted to add about the program in Kathmandu that we were talking about is it's going really well now, but it had some stumbling in the beginning. I'll say, especially the municipality started out just working with whatever organization or vet clinic was bidding the lowest price, like they were doing building an office building or something like that, like just a tender process. And so there were some vet clinics that were offering to sterilize for the lowest price per dog, and then there were a lot of infections and dehiscence and just worrying surgeries. And so the Cat Center and other organizations were able to talk with the municipality and say, look, you can't just look at the numbers, you also have to look at the welfare of the dogs and see these dogs being returned to the neighborhoods and what happens to them next. And so now there's been a shift towards focusing on fewer partners and looking at the quality of the surgery and the experience of the organizations and not just the financial bottom line.
I think that's a great point to be noted regarding the quality of the work and how it should be done. One of the issues that we had while working, taking initially another organization had done the neutering work. Unfortunately, they did not have any identification marks on the dogs to identify that they were neutered. And this is why the communication between the organizations and the way, how we express, how we can relay the information about the work is very important. Now, normally, the dogs here that are neutered are identified with a small notch on the left ear. These dogs did not have those notches. So it got very tricky for us to work. And unfortunately, we found around 10, 11 dogs that had to undergo anesthesia, and we discovered later on that they were already neutered. So even when there are different organizations working, sticking to one plan, to a common plan, there should be certain things that are common to everybody should follow it. The instructions, the protocols is very important, so that wherever there is an exchange or there is an handover, it does not affect, and the dogs and the cats should not fall victim to those kind of irresponsibilities. So this is one issue that we had. So the fact that the Metropolitan now is trying to bring it all together under one protocol will help eliminate issues as such.
I think as we talk to each other before, we always mentioned that it's important to get the local community to trust us more. Maybe Liliana can share some story about it.
Yes. So as I mentioned before, we actually have like a group of animal lovers here in Pokhara. We call it Pokhara Animal Lovers Group. And one of the things that AHA did was we used to get a lot of rescue calls. And, we have sometimes when we are in surgery, for example, we are not able to attend the rescues immediately. And sometimes that can take a few hours. So what we did was we actually organized a meet and greet program to bring together all the animals, especially the dog lovers here in Pokhara. So we did a very small event, and the impact of that event was very visible because we had, many people from maybe a kilometer away, and they did not know that, that there was a fellow dog lover who is just like few blocks away from there. And later on, when issues like rescues were there, then they actually collaborated themselves, they communicated, and then brought the dog to us. So 2 is better than 1, right? And these are the stories that we have. So bringing together local feeders is something that we did, and it has actually helped reduce the rescue times because now they can all get together and bring. We also had a bit of an issue with feeders at times because there is an emotional standpoint to the work we do, but there is also a technical and a practical standpoint to the work we do. A rescue is not unicorns and rainbows, and I think all of us can, attest to that. So sometimes when there are people who are too emotionally attached to the animals, to the dogs and cats, and explaining to them what is the situation, explaining to them a technical point of the view, technical view for that particular situation is difficult at times. And it requires a lot of talking.
And Liliana, maybe you can share some of the story with us. As I know, you have a lot of experience in psychology, so maybe you know how to bring the community together and know how to get them to trust us more.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I learned when I arrived to CAD, which is like very recent. And they have been working in the area for quite so many years now, right?
20.
Around 20 years. And so the community in which they work has become more aware of the dogs. They understand a lot better the dynamics of these dogs, the ones that are community dogs, the ones that are owned, the ones that are just roaming dogs, stray dogs that do not belong to the community. And they understand that CAT is there to help them in case there is an emergency with any of own dogs or community dogs, or even if they see a stray dog that is in bad shape or that has had a road traffic accident, for example, and the community is able to communicate with us and bring the animal or call it to our emergency line and say, hey, we have a problem. So what I'm seeing is that the relationship with the community is the base of everything. I mean, I know that the municipalities are very important, and the high level stakeholders are important because they are the ones that provide us with the tools and maybe the money to sterilize. But it doesn't stop with the sterilization, because there's the animal welfare and the animal love that needs to go with it, and that needs to go hand in hand, because otherwise you can have dog owners that do not care about the dogs. There's just like a doorbell for their houses, and they're chained. So if we don't if we don't communicate with the community, and if we don't provide them with the tools to understand how the animals react to certain aspects to our behaviors towards them, it's going to create differences in between the behavior of us towards them and the animals towards us. So having a good relationship with the community is very, very important. We always talk about education and school education, but it has to go beyond that. It's not just the school students and teenagers. Yes, they are the base and they will be the future, and they will need to understand, and things are changing, but the animals belong to the community or belong to a family, and the families, is not the children who is going to rule that, is the adult. So we need to reach out to these adults, and maybe they are animal lovers, maybe they are animal haters, for example. So what I tried to do in Romania, but in the end it didn't work, because you also need to understand the context and the culture of where you are. So it's a humane community development, which is provided. It's one of the tools provided by ICAM, and it's a step-by-step process, for the communities in need of a humane, sustainable solution for their dog problems. So it's a participatory approach that enables the community, any ordinary people, to play like an influential role in the decision making of what's happening in our community. So how do we manage the dogs that are in our community, the community dogs? And that is going to make them understand one another, humans, and understand the dynamics of the dogs, and then come up with common solutions for all of them, for the welfare of the animals and the well-being of the humans, because everything is interchanged and interrelated. So again, communities are very important, and it's just not with schools that we're going to achieve that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yes.
Sorry,
On the brighter, yes, I think on the brighter side, if I had to add a little to Liliana's, I think the change is there. if we see there's younger people who are a lot more compassionate to their pet animals, beginning from pet animals, and we can see that change. And I personally believe that we are in a transition phase, a phase where my parents have a very different perspective of dogs and cats than I do. So sometimes my dog sleeping in a bed sounds obnoxious to my parent, but I love them so much, I don't mind them on the bed. So I really do believe that we are in that transition phase where we are accepting the fact that pets are not pets, they're our family members. And with the kind of education that Liliana has just talked, I think we can speed up that process a little more.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it makes me feel old to say this, but I've been coming to Nepal for more than 20 years, and the change I've seen has been amazing. When I first came here, just a really big percentage of the dogs were street dogs. Maybe somebody threw some old food to them, but there wasn't a lot of care given to the dogs. There's very little awareness about rabies. I think a lot of people saw dogs as sort of like pigeons in a city street. Like, well, they're there, but you just ignore them. And yeah, it's amazing now. I feel like, anybody under the age of maybe 25 or so, if you say you were bitten by a dog, they'll immediately say, oh, did you wash it? Did you go to the hospital? Did you get vaccinated? Like, young people really know, rabies awareness and responsible pet ownership is growing. And yeah, and as Aljani said, I think the animal charities can do a lot to speed up this process and sort of normalize pets as part of the family, or at least members of the community that we can all take care of, rather than just something that lays on the street in front of your house.
We actually have several instances, and during the COVID, we took the opportunity, and as much as we tried to do something positive in that time, right? So we started a little sharing information where we said, you don't have to feed all the dogs, just make sure that you feed the dog that is in front of your house. So that way, if all the community members, maybe not all of them will feed the dogs, but those who are interested, if they just feed one dog, I'm pretty sure that is still better than like being none. And this is also wouldn't be wrong to say a tactic, something that we use in our rescues. For example, say there is a dog and that we have been called in for rescue, and it's, for example, a mange dog, so we have to give some medicines to it. And at times we do not have place in our clinic, maybe, or sometimes there might be an outbreak. And, the best way of treatment forward is treating the dog in that community. So what we do is we request the person who has called us for the rescue if they can give the medicines to the dog. Of course, the medicines will provide pro bono, free of cost, but all they have to do is feed the dog the medicine. And we have seen it happen more than once. The people, they give they have like a little rice or a chapati or even meat sometimes a little bit, because you need to feed the dog. And once that becomes a little bit of a habit, you give it 1 day, you give it 2 days, it just becomes a habit for people. And when they see visible improvement in the dog, that the dog is getting better and they made it happen, they just, it, I think, brings a kind of, they're so proud that they could have done something, they've done something, and it becomes a habit. Now you have a dog that you have to feed because the dog is going to be at your gate. And we've actually seen this relationship blossom from there. So now, technically, the dog might not be inside the house, because any person who loves a dog probably has a dog at home, but then they have someone to take care of. And if the dog is sick, they know where to call, and they can find a way to bring the dog here, and we can help with treatment. And that is one of the ways that we are trying to improve, or get the community more engaged with the dogs around them. And as you said, and not just think that they're just something on the street, but someone that deserves a bit of love and respect.
Yeah, I think that Rick and Lily and I also have many experience with this, because you two have been travel to many countries and work in different countries. Can you please share some experience or campaigns that you organize before to bring the community to care for their animals and promote adoption? Because I know Cat has dog projects as well.
Yeah, I can say something sort of. Oh, go ahead.
Please.
Okay, I'll say that building on what Liliana said a little bit earlier with people talk about well, most of us in this field are animal people. We got into this because we love animals, we want to help animals. So the obvious thing to do is sort of directly helping animals, whether it's campaigns or rescue or whatever it is. And and then I feel like in the evolution of a lot of animal charities, the education sort of comes after that, and you realize, oh yeah, we're supposed to do education. That's what they said at that conference I went to. So you hire an education person and they go to schools, and that's a good step forward. But I think I would encourage people to not just think about education as a separate program on the side, but really integrate it into all the programs as much as you can. Every time you rescue an animal, every time you put an animal back in its neighborhood, every time somebody brings an animal to you, those are all opportunities to change how people think, produce human behavior change. And so I feel like when an organization just sees education as like, oh yeah, we go to X number of schools per year, it's a lost opportunity to really get the community to work with you in the long term. And then from the community, the government follows as well. If more and more constituents and voters care about animals, then that's going to change policy indirectly. And so I think that's really a key part of the whole work that we do.
You wanted to say something, Johnny?
No, please, after you.
Okay. So we always talk about sterilization, and now we're talking about community engagement, and we're talking about education. Another way to know your community, if you have not had the chance to, if let's say you're new, as an organization, or you want to go a little more in depth that just your surroundings, is to do one part of like the dog population management, which is the household questionnaires, in which you can go to, if your population is small, you can go to each of the households that you have, but if not, you do a sample of them, and you do a series of questions that you can also use an app for that. We use the Kobo toolbox, and it's very, very efficient, and afterwards we can get the all the results at once in the screen, as well as the map. So that is very helpful. But in a standardized way, you ask questions about own dogs, about roaming dogs, and about the perception of the community animals and roaming animals for that household in particular. And you also tell them that there's an organization that is behind that, and that if in case of any emergency, trouble, etc., and this organization is there to help. And with this household questionnaires, you can in the ICAM tools, you can see that there's a whole set of questions that you can answer. You can ask, but of course you need to customize it, based on your needs, and that will bring you insights of the community itself, but the problems and the problems or the goods that happen within the welfare and the treatment of the cats and dogs. We're talking always about dogs, but there are also cats. In the program that I ran in Romania, we also included working animals. We included donkeys and horses. And all these questions that we asked about donkeys and horses, they were for our program of donkeys and horse outreach. So we're talking about different topics, and outreach and engagement is different. But throughout these household questionnaires, we could have a global idea of the animals that were in the community and how to better approach the people that took care of these animals, and make a strategy and make a plan in order to provide a better help for these animals and for the community.
Yeah, I just want to add about the importance of doing these household surveys. Last year I consulted on a project in Saudi Arabia to create the country's first dog population management program. And part of our work there, I was with a team, and part of the work included doing these door-to-door surveys, and Ellie Hebe coordinated it. And a lot of people thought, okay, it's the Middle East, it's a Muslim country, so nobody likes dogs. Even some of the Saudi people that we talked to were saying, like, why are you bothering doing a survey? People don't like dogs. And but actually, we were really surprised that a lot of people there put out waste food for the dogs. They'll put their their most of their garbage in the bin, and then they'll put the food on the ground for dogs to eat. And this really changed the whole plan for how to manage the dog population, because if dogs are coming into town at sunrise to get food every day from people, that's a very different situation than if the dogs are really feral. So yeah, I think these surveys can be helpful for shaking up some of the assumptions that we make, and giving some insights about the communities you work with, even if you've been working in the same place for decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also a tool to measure the impact that you're doing, because you can ask about dog bites, you can ask about you can see the animals, you can see the body condition score and do some measurements. And if you're thorough enough, and if you're really disciplined, you can do that in different stages. And you will see if the message went through, you can see the changes in these animals. Like in Romania, for example, the dogs are usually chained. So the ones that are the community dogs are roaming dogs, but the ones that are own dogs, they are not really taken as part of the family. They think that they really take care of them, but because it has food and water and maybe a little roof, but really there's no understanding of the needs of the dogs and also the cats. But these dogs might be chained just to be a doorbell. They might chained just to be just to be there, for the family, for the kids. And if you do the household questionnaires, the door-to-door questionnaires, and you see that dog has a chain that is, really short, you can talk to the owner, and you can if you could see that the owner can provide a longer chain, you can tell them. Or if you see that is a social case, maybe you can help and provide yourself that chain. And talking with the people and doing this household questionnaires, we saw that the thinking of the population changed over time towards the better welfare of these animals. I mean, you don't need to be so what I'm trying to say is that you need to be in their shoes. You need to understand why they're doing that. I mean, sometimes it's out of because they don't know better. So that's what they do. And if you show them that there's a better way and they really care about their animals, there's a possibility that they might change their attitudes towards that. So that will increase the welfare of the animals. And at the same time, if the animals are better, the humans will also be better and be safer. Out of, if we're talking about diseases, and if we're talking about other things and dog bites, etc., because there will be a better relationship between animals and humans.
Yes,
So
I agree. I think it's good that we spend time to learn more about our community that we need to interact with, and I think it's also like important to work with the local government. And I think that so many grassroots NGOs we are sometimes like confused about how to work with the government. So maybe Anthony can share with us a story about that, because I know that the doctors used to have one day.
I just saw a question on the messages. So this where there's been a question about how we address the issues in rural parts. So I would like to give a small example on that. So as Heart is in Pokhara and Chittagong in two places. Now, when we say Pokhara, I think a lot of people might imagine a very fancy part, probably Lakeside. Lakeside is a part of it. But apart from Lakeside, now the Greater Pokhara actually has a lot of hills around it. So all of that is Pokhara. Now, as much as Pokhara is a city in itself, the hills are not. These are very simple agriculture-based communities. And one of the biggest issues in the hills that we have realized is monkeys. There are just too many monkeys in the hills, surrounding Pokhara. So a few years back, we actually did a vaccination camp when Pokhara became a greater Pokhara, when Pokhara and Leknath merged along with other small villages. So we did a vaccination camp all over it. It took us 3 months to complete the vaccination camp in all these areas. So we went to every ward office, we talked to the local authorities, we told them what our program was, that we also would like to, provide vaccination and see what is the condition of the dogs there. And while in doing that, we realized that a lot of people actually have dogs because there are just too many monkeys, and they love the dogs. It's not that I believe that Nepal is a country where dogs are loved. We have a day we worship dogs, but because of the monkey issues, a lot of in the sub areas, people have 3 dogs, 4 dogs, so many dogs. But the problem in these areas is that there aren't enough veterinary services. So even though people might have 4 dogs, it's expensive to get them vaccinated. For example, in the hills, when there's a veterinarian who has to travel there, might charge around 800 rupees or 500 rupees minimum for one vaccine. So if you have 4 dogs, that's 2,000 rupees. And sometimes farmers may not have that much money or are not willing to spend that much money on something like vaccinations. For an animal, for a dog, which in the very general sense does not have any financial benefit to the farmers. Indirectly, of course, it is protecting the crops. But for example, if you had a cattle, the farmers have a very different perspective. So we actually, when we did that, we did the exact same thing that Liliana said. We asked them, what do you feed the dog? How do you keep the dog? So in the main areas of Pokhara, while the most issue is that dogs are tied too much, in the suburban and in the hills, the issue is that the dogs are too free. Nobody knows who the dog belongs to until it was the vaccination camp and everybody came with their dogs to get them vaccinated, and they didn't have chains. Like very few of them had chains, right? So they had like very funny looking ropes, or some of them had their dupattas on them, on the dogs, because they never tie the dogs. So they never needed anything like a chain to tie them. The dogs is free to go around, make a mess, chase the monkeys, and then comes back in the evening and eats and then sleeps. So there's a very different scenario when you see a Pokhara Valley and when you see the suburban. So in the suburban and the rural areas, that is how we are helping. Are rescues possible in this? Unfortunately not. A lot of times when we receive from calls from high up on the top on the hills, we request them if they can bring the dog over. And surprisingly, actually, many people do. We have had dogs who have been brought in from Kanruk, which is like few hours away from Pokhara. So from Dampus, from Lachok, people made the effort to reserve a taxi, send the dog in to us for treatment. So that is how, we are helping. And I think it is important for people to know, the community to know that if we make an effort, there is a place we can reach out to. So as long as we have that place, and it's all about meeting halfway, we do this and the community does this, and that is how we can work together as a grassroots organization. So that is how we have been doing the work in the suburban. So recently we actually did a free health camp in Begnas, in Lake Nath area, with the help from two wonderful dog lovers from there. And we did one camp in the market area, very fancy dogs sometimes. I really believe the Japanese species should be declared the national dog here, because every dog is a Japanese species or crossbreed. But when we went uphill, when we had another camp on the upper areas, we saw a massive problem of ticks over there. And we actually had to, bring a dog here and prescribe medicines for a few because of ticks, because they are very anemic. And now these are the places that do not have veterinary services easily accessible. So whenever, a couple of people, the locals, can make an effort and we can join their effort in hand, it gives great results. Together of more than 100 animals, dogs and cats were helped in that camp. And I think that's a great story. 2 people started a campaign and we were all able to join in, and more than 100 animals received, went through the program. So I think that's one very small example of, bringing the community together and doing all our parts.
Yes, I think that's so awesome. And I think maybe Rick and Liliana can share the story about Kathmandu city as well. I remember that you mentioned to me before that the government agreed to give funding to 9 small organizations. So do you face any challenges in that, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, well, we I think we touched on that or sort of around the beginning of the conversation, and I don't know, is there more to say about it?
Maybe you can say it again.
Yeah, so I'll just reiterate. It's so the Kathmandu municipality is collaborating with 9 local small NGOs and clinics to run a sterilization program throughout the city. And so it's a large working area with some tens of thousands of dogs. And so it didn't there were some challenges in the beginning, I'll say, but it's running well now. And I think with the clout of the municipality, that helps to coordinate people. They're providing the funding, they're obviously extremely influential. And so that helps to, how animal charities are. There's some friction between some of them, or some, different methods and disagreements, but I think the municipality is able to bring everyone together and align us on methods and, dog survey techniques as well. So it's going well so far. And there's still a long way to go. And I think once the fact that their data have not been collected in a systematic way is definitely a shortcoming. And my gut feeling is that once we do get some data out of this, we're going to find that it needs to become more systematic. My suspicion is that a lot of organizations involved in this have just been collecting, a few dogs here, a few dogs there, and maybe they're covering 20, 30, 40% of the population in their working area, but not getting to that 70 or 80%. And so I hope I'm wrong, but I'm expecting that we'll see that. And that way, we'll be able to make some data-driven decisions about maybe refocusing, and instead of covering the whole city all at once, focusing on specific wards and really saturating them with the sterilization program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw a question that's farmers and asked that how they wondering how they can rescue animals in the remote place, and it would be great if Zutris can share our experience on this.
Yeah, actually, I saw the question, so I answered it about the rural areas one. I'm not sure how it is in Kathmandu though.
It's tough. There are still a lot of gaps in the coverage of animal charities or even basic veterinary services. It's not like the UK, for example, where I feel like every village has an animal shelter. There's still huge areas where it's, there aren't even any doctors for humans, never mind veterinarians or anybody who has skills or experience to help animals in a systematic way. So it's hard. I don't have any great answers for that, other than the fact that I think we need to, the animal protection sector still has a long way to go to expand and cover more areas. I mean, I think it's fantastic that HEART is working in areas where no other animal charities are working. I think that's a really important step forward for the movement, and we need more of that.
Thank you.
Okay. So, no,
are there any questions? I think we are in our question session.
so yes, I think we have a question that's would you like to see more partnership between like international organization and grassroots NGO working towards similar goals, and do such partnership exist at the moment, and how would that work best in the context of Nepal? Could you hear me?
I did not quite get the question.
I think the question is, would you like to see more partnership between a big organization, international organization, and local organization working in the similar goals, and do such partnership exist at the moment, and how would it work in the best context of Nepal?
Okay. Okay, I would like to answer that. I think our first priority has always been in working with the local authorities and the government. As much as working with big organizations is great, as we have talked earlier, people who are here understand the situation, the problem, and have better solutions to it. And they are here, simple as that. And also, we have to understand that the local authorities and the government have a responsibility towards the management of the street animals, whether they like it or not. The only issue most of the time is that amidst the so many issues that are there, they are pushed really, really down. So as people who as dog lovers, as animal enthusiasts, as grassroots organization, I think one of the things that we have to do is join our hands together to make sure that our issues are addressed. Is it difficult? Yes. And I think, like in our past, a lot of discussions, we have talked about how difficult it is to get things done on a government, a platform through the government. It is difficult, but it is also sustainable. There are actually, the municipalities have an allotted budget for the management of dog population, certain, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but there are, government budget that is allocated for this. And we as organizations, or we as people who are aware about these information, we should take onto that hand that we make them, there is this, let's do this. Because if we do not tell them, there is a possibility that it might just go away. So, and one of the, how the budgeting here works is, if the budget is not spent within this fiscal year, there is a good possibility that the budget might not come in the following year. And that way, the animal issues will remain just unaddressed for a really long time, until there is a rabies outbreak, and then everybody is wondering, oh, what should we do? So that is why I think working with the government, or asking the government and the local authorities to take share in their responsibilities should be our topmost priority. And where there are gaps is where I believe other organizations can all chip in, because as I've mentioned earlier, there is so much we can do in terms of technicalities, in terms of recording, in terms of resources. And the big organizations that have been doing this for decades, they can help us guide through this. So if we can create that a scenario, an intersection part where the government takes responsibility. If they don't, we chip in our help. When the government does a program, they would like to know where the dogs are. And let me tell you, it is always the local feeders who will know where the dogs are, which is an angry dog, which is a happy dog, which is a dog that does not like being touched on the back, And local feeders coming together, the organizations coming together, the government coming together, and binding them all with information that is needed to get the work done, the big organizations. And I think that is the intersection that we should be heading for. So I do not see why that cannot happen. I believe it can, but again, of course, there's a lot of technicalities over there. But really, if we all can bring together the working mechanism of grassroots, feeders, government, and the big organizations, it would be a fantastic intersection and probably an ideal intersection part.
Yeah. I've had a lot of success working with the big global organizations. I mean, where it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, and it would be one-sided, or there would be stepping on each other's toes. But one thing that comes to mind is disaster response, where in 2015, when the earthquakes happened in Kathmandu, I was actually working at Soy Dog Foundation in Thailand, but I came over here and worked with, coordinating with AfA, HSI, World Animal Protection, other organizations, and it worked really well. Combined, as Anjali mentioned, this the local expertise of the local charities, combined with the resources of the international organizations, we really filled gaps that we couldn't have done without each other. So I think that went really well. And also, Liliana and I are still helping a lot of animals in Ukraine, and a lot of the support for that has come from global organizations that were able just have much more robust fundraising mechanisms than small animal charities do. And so they've been able to raise a lot of funds and pass those funds on to us. And we know specific animal shelters and vet clinics and volunteers in Ukraine that are doing essential work. And we can, it all comes together really well with disaster response in the best cases. And the big charities, obviously they have a lot of resources, expertise and funding. And so I think capacity building is another way that could be helpful. Like, Anji had mentioned going out into areas where the dogs are harder to catch. And the first thing I thought of is, oh, well, there are big charities that have a lot of experience with blowpipes, traps. And so, sort of a collaboration for building capacity of the staff to learn more methods of catching dogs is, I think that would be a good case for this kind of collaboration between an international charity and a local one. So I think that can be really beneficial. I would just avoid creating kind of a dependency, because typically the local charities will be here for a long time, and you don't want to become overly dependent on an organization based in some other country where somebody based in London or DC might decide that their new strategic plan doesn't include your country anymore. And if you become overly dependent on any one source of support, really, whether it's an individual donor or an organization, that can put you in a weak footing.
So we have another question. I see in the comment that what advice would you give to other organization or individual looking to engage in lobbying or advocacy work with their government on animal welfare matters? Liliana, maybe you want to answer this question?
Sorry, where's the question?
So this is current question. This one.
Oh.
I guess I can step in and say a few words. I say definitely joining together with other organizations will give you a lot more strength. If you're just one small animal charity, will the government listen to you? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, but if you can form a coalition of all the major animal charities in the area or in the country, or even most of them, that gives you a much stronger voice, and you can say you represent a lot more voters and a bigger set of population. And I know, it can be hard to get everyone to get along sometimes, but it's important for lobbying the government to get beyond that. Even if you don't agree about everything, if you can agree about passing an animal welfare law or just some broad policy level goals like that, I think that's really important. We also, just from my experience, things that have worked well with working with government officials. And I'm sure a lot of this is things I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have already know about, but just, really trying to understand their priorities and their needs is important. I mean, and try to bring value to them. Like, do they care about rabies? Do they care about public health? Maybe they don't care about animals, but they get complaints about poop in the streets. And so maybe you can use that angle. But, figure out what their priorities are and find some common ground to work with them. And yeah, and with government, I mean, spend a lot of time building trust and building relationships with them. Go to meetings, even if it seems pointless, just the more time you spend with them, the more that they can see you as a valuable potential partner and a source of expertise, rather than just some animal charity that's always complaining about that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And even if they're terrible people, generally I would treat them with respect. I mean, I've found there are times when an aggressive campaign against the government is appropriate, but from my experience, most of the time working with government officials gets you a lot further than working against them. So years ago with an animal charity that I worked with, we collaborated a lot with, we don't say collaborate, but we communicated a lot with the head of the public health department, who had a reputation for taking bribes to approve slaughterhouses. It was sort of there was pretty widespread corruption. And of course, I mean, we never told anybody that he's a great guy, but we worked with him because he was one of the most influential people for dog population management, even though he was involved in a lot of corruption and shady dealings. And so we treated him with respect. And again, the last thing I would say is just hope that these people you're building relationships with don't, there's not an election and then they lose their position and they're replaced by somebody else, and then you have to start from zero, because that happens a lot and that can be really frustrating. So there's some scattered ideas about lobbying and trying to, politely put pressure on government officials.
Yeah.
Sure.
Another thing that I would add to Greg's comment is that if you can prove to the municipalities and to the government and to the big stakeholders that the work that you are doing is making a difference, it's making an impact, and it's measurable, and you can prove it, they will start looking you in a different way. They will start believing more in you, and they will be more interested in what they can achieve with your collaboration and expand it to other organizations maybe. And this is what happened actually with the KMC, the Kathmandu work that we are doing now. They chose us because they chose Kat to be like the spokesperson for all the other grassroots organizations that are in the ABC program, because we've been here for a long time and we have been actually doing a really good work. And not just with the ABC program, that they rely on us and they know that we provide good services and that our vets are really skilled, and the animals do not have problems afterwards, but that we also work with the community. And an example that I just recently learned about CAD is that many years ago there was a culling policy, so killing of the animals, and they would kill like around 10,000 animals per year in Kathmandu, because there were like many animals. But thanks to CAD and the relationship that they had with the community, they proved that in the community, they didn't have that many problems. So they talked with the municipality, and they managed to prevent the culling of animals in their municipality. So that is an example of good relationship between the municipality and the organization in which you work, that proves that your work is valuable, and your work is not just helping animals, it's also helping people. Because just because the community, and I just insist on the community because it's like my part, because they're not wild animals, they're domestic animals, so they depend on us. And the kinder and the more compassionate that we are towards animals, the better for the well-being of them and our the welfare of them and our well-being. And I know it sounds a little utopic, but it creates a better environment and a better world. And animals live happier, and also, humans live happier. So it's not a la land, but it's a reality based on the work that you do with the community that needs your help, because you are the expert, and you provide tools and you provide care that, as you said, Anji, that some people cannot afford it. And luckily they have you where you are, and here in this section of this area, they have cat that can help them with their problems. Unfortunately, we cannot reach to far away places, but as you said, Anji, there are people who would drive 3 hours to get an animal sick to you. So hopefully this can also start happening with other grassroots organizations, and have a humane, treatment towards animals.
Yeah, thank you so much for the sharing. I think we are wrapping this up, so we can hear like one last question. So someone asked that if they see a problem in their areas and there's no organization addressing the issues, they might want to start something themselves. Where would they begin with? Do you have any advice for them?
Okay, so when it comes to the context here in Nepal, so even though there might be no organizations in any given municipality, we have to I think people should know that there is actually a government veterinary that is there all the time, first of all. And the second is that all the municipalities now actually have a separate animal department that is dedicated to the management of the animals. So there's two things that is going to be there. There might be no organizations, but there are government bodies that are responsible for the management of these animals. And I think, whatever we talk about, it all boils down that we should be aware about what are the facilities that are available within the municipalities, what is the municipality supposed to do, what is the organization supposed to do. If we do not have a proper idea about the responsibilities and the facilities, we cannot function well. We cannot arrange for the things to happen, right? So the first thing would be to identify the stakeholders, like who is there. If not an organization, there must be something, and the government has it. The municipality has an animal department, and there's going to be a veterinary department. We are an agricultural country. Sometimes when people say, oh, there's no vet, I don't know any vet over here or technician. So the thing that we tell them is, if you can find a person who has a buffalo in their house, I assure you they will have a number for a vet tech, or someone with goats, someone with any kind of animal in their house, because there is when the need arises, this is when people want the information, and sometimes they're not easily available. Unfortunately, we are not very good with information, whether it's phone number or contacts. So there's a working, and we understand this because we have been in the field. So if there's a buffalo in somebody's house, they'll probably need a technician to help with the management. So they will have a tech who can help with the dogs or a cat that needs the rescuing with treatment. And this is how I think we can all bring together. So if they want to start an organization, as social media is a great way. We see so many posts on Facebook, and we can just say, oh, and I'm from so and so. Is there anybody else? Or we would just have like a cup of tea and we'll talk about things. And we underestimate the conversation that happens at a cup of tea. So I think that is where we can all start from, a cup of tea.
I like that. I want to add, we when people ask me about starting an organization, I always encourage them, start with a strategic plan. I know it's not the most exciting thing to do, but you really get together a group of like-minded people and go through a whole planning process and make a mission statement, make your values and your vision statement and your organizational goals, and really think about where you want to be some years into the future. Because if you don't start with a strategy, maybe things will go fine and you'll do great, or maybe you'll end up with, 50 dogs living at your house and no money and no way to take care of them. And you realize, oh, I shouldn't have accidentally started a shelter. I should have started with a sterilization program or an advocacy program or an awareness program. So yeah, that's what I would say. You really start with a plan and get some, like-minded people who can give really good advice to work with you on it.
Liliana, do you have anything to add to this question?
No, I think, in between Angie and Greg, they really wrapped it up. And really love the strategic planning. So
yes, I agree. It was to start with a cup of tea or coffee, maybe iced coffee, iced tea, because I'm sure that it's hot over there, and just like that in my place in Vietnam.
yeah.
So we have like a few minutes left before I hand over this to the next person. So do you have any last question or the last thing that you want to share with the audience? Anyone? Anything you want to share?
I feel like we've talked a lot today.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I agree.
There's one,
yeah.
if we do, so do we have a couple more minutes?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to ask Anjani about, which is, I know this came up in one of the DACC meetings as well. Just these, some of the people, they're passionate animal lovers, and some of them feed animals on the streets, and they can be a great resource, and they can also be a real headache. And some of them have so much enthusiasm that sometimes they get a little irrational. So I was wondering if you have any advice about, from your experience, about how to help these really passionate animal lovers to be good partners and be productive and not kind of run in the wrong direction.
I think it is good communication and a lot of patience, in all honesty. During the COVID time, and this is what we realized, there were a lot of young people feeding, right? But then even feeding came with its own share of issues for the locals, because we actually had an incident where the feeders picked up a fight with the locals, because the locals said that, oh, you're feeding the dogs and you're making the place dirty. And the feeders were like, why not? We're like, we have to feed them. Like, they're hungry. There's no one around. And both of them were right in their own places. They were not wrong, all wrong. So when we were presented with something like this, so he said, okay, how about you feed in plates and then you take the plates with you and then you clean the plates. So that way, there's no, there's nothing that's going to waste. The dogs are getting food in a proper place as well. We have had sometimes issues with feeders. I remember this one camp where there was, TVT was is still a massive issue. And there were certain cases where we would not have been able to save the animal. And this is a very tricky part of our satellite neutering camps, is what do we do when we come across an animal that we may not be able to help in the long term? The animals that need treatment forever. And we are always presented with this a very difficult situation where we go on camps for the sterilization, but then we are presented with rescues. We see dogs that are very, very sick. In one of those, we had a really bad case of TVT. And I'm sorry, it sounds a bit graphic, but the TVT had got so bad that it was like this really big mass that was hanging down from this female dog, and it was infected to the point that it had maggots in it. So we could not save the animal. There was no way we could have done anything to her. We didn't have the resources for it, the time for it. And unfortunately, we had to, let her go on humane grounds. When the feeders saw this, they hid every other dog with TVT from us. So every time our van was there, they would hide the dogs that were sick because they thought, oh, they're killing the dogs. So we actually had to get hold of the group person, we sat them down, we told them this is the situation, this is how sick the dog was, this is a very contagious disease, this is, it can get to other dogs, and while we are trying to save one, this can, affect dozens dogs, and all of them are going to turn sick. So we sat them down, we had a two-way conversation, we listened to them, we listened their level, what was their understanding. We tried to, decode their way of understanding things, and then we put our perspective in place. So it really comes down to good communication and a lot of patience. And you're absolutely right, Greg. We cannot be angry at all times. Anger, if anything, it just ruins things. So we sat down, we had the conversation. So we came to a conclusion that, okay, so these are the dogs that have this problem, this is the treatment that we can do, and this is the treatment that you will have to continue in the future. Are you willing to do it? Is there a possibility that you can help with it? If so, this is what we can do next. Maybe we can take help from the government people. Maybe you can consult a private technician for it, and that is how we talked with the feeders. And we were able to come to a solution regarding this, huge TVT problem. And we were able to clear our tags as someone who killed the dog. So this is what happened. And even here in Pokhara, now that there are, the feeders and community caretakers, we have developed this amazing relationship where they have, every time they see a female dog, they'll be like, there is a new female dog that we spotted. So we assess, is she ready for neutering? Is there anything else she needs? Does she need any help? So if she's too young, okay, maybe we wait for some time. And because the feeders keep feeding her, she's not going anywhere. She's there. And when the time is right, we bring her over, we neuter her, we spay her. And that way, the locals are also not angry at the feeder, because this is what we have to understand, that the feeders also have issues they face, that everybody is going to be happy. So listening to them, understanding to them, and then working accordingly and sharing our share of the knowledge is always useful. I think that is the only way it can work, listening to one another.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing the experience with us. And I think we run over time, and it's really nice to hear everyone here to join us. And it's good that Red Cat finally joins us for the very last minute. So thank you so much again for joining the discussion today. And I'm handing over this to Brooke.
Thanks so much. This is really, really lovely.
Thank you.
Join you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Hi
much.
there. Thank you so much, all of you. Anjani, Greg, Liliana, Lynn, and Kat. We're all very excited to see the cat. Just a few closing notes before we go ahead and have a break. So first, I want to announce that we have a few upcoming Connect sessions for 2024. As I mentioned at the beginning, this was the first of our Connect sessions. We have, sorry, the slide is, can we go back to the previous slide? Yeah, okay, so in June, we have insurmountable challenges, aiming for solutions. In August, the power of community, sharing skills, experiences, and resources. And in November, Communication Matters, a united movement. And we recommend that you keep your eye on our social media in order to, register for those as soon as they come up. We've got some really exciting things lined up already. We also have a couple of in-person events scheduled for this year. One of them is Asia Farm Animal Day, which will take place in Hanoi from the 9th to 11th of October. We also have a couple of regional farm animal coalition events scheduled. We don't have precise dates for those yet, but they will be happening in Philippines and India. So again, watch this space for further information about those, how to register. Also, this year, 2024, we have launched the Asia for Animals podcast, and that features a whole variety of different guests. We have podcasts made by our different working groups. We've released 5 or 6 of them already, and they're really, really interesting. They cover everything from, policy to macaque issues, dog and cat issues, farm issues, and more. You can really find those wherever you can find podcasts, but here are some examples of some of the platforms that carry them. And you can always just go to our website and listen directly from there. Okay, so we will now go to break, and we will come back in 5 minutes. That's, for most people, 35 minutes after the hour. There, it's just been changed in the slides there. So soon we'll do that. And remember that in the breakout room is where you're going to go for fundraising, budgets, and core costs. And if you want to attend the other session, A Humane World Starts From Your Plate, stay here in the main room. Have a good break. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We took a little bit of a longer break than planned just to make sure that both rooms were ready. So we're going to continue today with concurrent sessions. One here in the main room, which will be called A Humane World Starts From Your Plate. And in the other room, in the breakout room, fundraising budgets and core costs. So as a reminder to how to go to the breakout room if you need to do so, basically along the bottom of your Zoom screen, you will either see a little thing that says breakout rooms, or you'll see 3 dots that say more, which you want to click on. Choose that and then just choose join on breakout room 1. If you want to return back to the main room, just click leave room from the breakout room. That's it. I'm passing over to Tang and the Farm Animal Coalition for A Humane World Starts From Your Plate. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Brooke. And I hope that you have enjoyed the first hours with other sessions, the 2 sessions previous to this one. And welcome everybody again to session 4 of the first AfA CONNECT 2024. My name is Tang. I'm the lead coordinator of the Farm Animal Coalition, and I'm your host today. As you have been aware and following, the number of people trying to adopt and trying plant-based diet increasing every year worldwide. And now we not only have the Veganuary, but also have the Green Monday and even Green Tuesday. And there are many other different vegan challenges that help motivate people to try vegan diet. However, there are many other programs and activities that animal protection organizations and vegan organizations are doing that are also very effective in helping to create a more humane world. And that's why in today's session, we would like to, it's my honor to introduce to you 3 amazing speakers who will talk about their programs that help incubate and boost the veganism at national and international scales. The first speaker is Shirley Lu, Managing Director and Asia Chief China Representative of ProVeg International. The second speaker is Monica Wang, the founder of Shabu Vegan. And the third speaker is Sharita Joshi. She's now acting as a human behavior change, running the human behavior change campaign at Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organizations, FIAPO for short. Let us now welcome Shirley as our first speaker. And Shirley, the floor is yours whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Tan, and thank you, FA, for inviting. Let me share my screen. I can share my screen now. Sorry, I still can't share my screen. Can you please give me the...
Yep, no worries, Shirley. We will have our team help. Just let us know when you want us to change the slide.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, can you please load the slide in? You have access to the Google slide, right? Not the downloaded version?
This is being worked on in the background. We'll be with you just really quickly. Sorry for the delay.
Oh, no problem.
Shirley, you should now be able to share. Try again.
Okay.
We can see.
Okay. Great. Wonderful. So yeah, thank you again for having me here today. My short talk will be on alternative protein powered by innovation from ProVeg. Yeah, so the reason why I like to share about what we do by protecting animals through innovation is, I think, not only to share the events, activities in Asia, but also to seek collaboration. Okay, a very brief introduction about myself. Yeah, so prior to ProVeg, I was in the food industry. I have over 20 years experience in innovation, marketing, and also strategic planning with a packaged food company, consumer goods company, and also food ingredients companies. In 2022, I set up ProVeg INGO rep office in China. Okay, so yeah, I think you're familiar with these challenges, and you've been pioneers, champions in this regards: animal sufferings, deforestation, hunger, public health challenges. And all these global urgent problems share a common cause: our choice of foods. And ProVeg is a food awareness organization. Our goal is to replace conventional animal consumption through food innovations, alternative proteins like plant-based, fermentation-derived, and also cultivated proteins. ProVeg has received a few accolades. We have received UN's Momentum for Change Awards. ProVeg is also permanent observer status from 2 UN agencies on climate change, UN FCCC and IPCC. ProVeg is also received accreditation from UNAE. We have 12 offices across different continents, but our campaigns covers much broader than this. Okay. So for those who don't know ProVeg yet, so what do? We focus on food innovation with the incubator, which I will introduce later. And we also work with corporations and doing research and to make policy recommendations and advocacy. Our teams also do like communication movements and engage media. Okay, so incubator, that's what I'm going to focus on today. ProVeg Incubator is the world's first incubator focusing on animal-free food techs. And we help pioneering companies to develop disruptive alternatives in order to replace animal-based ingredients and products. This is the 6th year of the ProVeg Incubator. And in the past 5 years, ProVeg Incubator has supported and mentored more than 100 startups in, cell-cultivated, plant-based, and also fermentation-derived. These startups are coming from 35 different countries. Some of them also from Asia, I hope to highlight later. Okay, so last year was a big year for the ProVeg Incubator and for some of our alumni. Just give you a few examples. Better Nature. Better Nature is a joint venture between UK and Indonesia. Okay, this is a company focusing on tempeh. Tempeh products. Tempeh has over 300 years of history from Indonesia, and this companies used tempeh and developed a range of diversified main meal and also snacks product, and has already sold their product into major retailers in UK. Last year, they also successfully raised over £1 million for further growth and expansion. Another startup from Asia, Umami United. This company focusing on plant-based egg. Do you know that Japan has the highest per capita consumption of egg? I think between China and Japan, they are #1 and #2. Okay, and in fact, outside of Japan and China, Asians love eggs, the taste of eggs, and has so many applications. Therefore, now we need a lot more egg substitutes. Innovation solutions. Yeah, Umami United has used soy and soybeans and also konjac to provide the flavors and textures. Yeah, and also mushrooms and soya to provide the nutrition. Okay. There are also a few other startups that performed quite well from Europe or from the Northern Europe. The Scandinavians successfully raised funds in this challenging economic environment. Yeah, so there are still investors that look for quality the initiatives with good potentials. Yeah, so the incubator alumni from Asia, right? I hope that we together can also support these initiatives in order to support animals. For example, how food is a Sino-Indonesian joint venture. It's a plant-based chicken using peanut. And Better Nature, I just introduced focusing on tempeh, and initiatives that say Allium Bio from Singapore. It's a fermentation project, use microalgae and also mycelium, right? This aims to replace animal proteins through fermentation solutions. And we also have Vitality Foods from Singapore. Vitality Food is a startup focusing on the elderly group to provide, for example, plant-based soup base. Asians, especially the Chinese, love soups. So these provide plant-based solutions to provide nutritious and sustainable soup alternatives. Start Plant is plant-based milk using chickpeas from Xinjiang. And we also have a Plant Origin from Thailand. They use rice bran to make egg substitute. This is a startup from Thailand. So even better that they turn waste into something useful, and also sustainable. Okay. The ProVac Incubator is a 12-week programs. We connect startups that help to provide sustainable food solutions, good for the environment, good friendly for the animals. Besides 12-week programs, we connect them into research and also fundraising communities. Each startups can receive, once they are selected in the incubator, they can receive up to 300,000 euro funding. So the reason to share is in your community, in your city, in your countries, if there are more sustainable proteins startups, please invite them to look up ProVac incubators. We hope there will be more startups from Asia join the community and able to tap into the resources in research, in funding, in business practices through this community. And we hope to see more healthy, nutritious, affordable, successful initiatives in the market. I'd like to briefly also share another campaign that's actually developed and launched in Asia Pacific. Okay, last year was the 4th year we launched the Food Innovation Challenge. And the Food Innovation Challenge, the idea is to connect food and beverage companies with college students to co-create sustainable food solutions. So last year, we have companies like Unilever, Nestle, Cargill, Beyond Meat, CPF, headquartered in Bangkok, and the students joined these campaigns, total to over 1,000 students, and they formed 384 teams. Last year was the year that we had record number of companies and also students participation. The reason I want to share is that last year we also opened the campaign to students outside of Asia to form teams with students in Asia. Okay, so if you are based in Asia, great. I like to invite a collaboration with you to help amplify this campaign to college students in your city, in your countries. If you are outside of Asia, we also hope to collaborate with you. The campaign, I said, have over 1,000 students participated. And according to our survey, that after this campaign, their awareness about the benefits of plant-based, the need to go plant-based increased. Their interest to adopt a plant-forward, a plant-rich diet also increased. The campaign reached beyond this 1,000 students. In communication, it reached millions of students in Asia. So for those that couldn't finish their proposals, we plant the seed by introducing them about the need to go plant-based and how they can contribute their creativities to develop sustainable food solutions and to make the planet more sustainable. Yeah, that's my brief sharing. Yeah, so again, that thanks for listening, and I invite the like-minded organizations in Asia and also beyond Asia to reach out. Yeah, I look forward to hearing from you if you are interested to collaborate to amplify the campaigns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirley. That is very inspiring, and it's really much needed effort to incubate like more programs and make people more accessible to vegan food. Yeah, thank you for sharing your presentation. And now we would like to invite Monica Wang for sharing such for the information that she's doing. Monica Wang is the founder of Shabu Vegan, and she is doing everything she can in her country to support the growing plant-based community in China. The floor is yours now, Monica.
Okay, thank you, Tan. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I think the screen's being sharing right now. Okay.
Yep, working.
So, yep, let me move this a little bit. Okay. So I want to say thank you to the organizers for inviting me, and I'm honored to be a speaker at this conference. So my name is Monica Wang. I'm the founder of Xiaobu Vegan. So to give you maybe a little bit information about Xiaobu Vegan, Xiaobu in Chinese means step, like small steps. So we want to encourage people to go to vegan lifestyle step by step. That's why we call ourselves Xiaobu Vegan. And our platform is dedicated to promoting a plant-based lifestyle. Therefore, the theme today, A Human World Starts From Your Plate, resonates deeply with both me, myself, and our organization. So to give a brief overview of the dietary habits in China. So from a young age and even today, if you ask most Chinese people, they will tell you that the healthiest diet is one that combines meat and vegetable. You cannot just eat meat, you must include vegetables, especially green ones. What you definitely shouldn't do is eat only vegetables, as most people find it hard to associate a vegan diet or vegetarian diet with animal welfare or as ethics. If you only eat vegetables, you might be labeled as Buddhist, you have some religion beliefs, or you are maybe too poor to afford meat, though it is less likely today, since everyone knows that China is becoming rich. So, what worse, people might even think you have something wrong in the head. So for most Chinese people, not eating meat is not only unsupported, but also criticized. Then what meat do we eat the most? As you can see from the picture on the left, I know there are some Chinese, but there are some English there. Or if you have some knowledge of Chinese cuisine, you would know that the pork is the largest category of meat consumption. So according to the reports from China's Market Supervision Department, 1.4 billion Chinese people consume about 700 million pigs, 50 million cattle, 400 million sheep, and 16.5 billion poultry each year. So, however, as people's getting richer, more individuals have started to forsake pork in favor of higher-end beef and seafood such as salmon. These meats are considered healthier compared to pork and also serve as a status as a good money status symbol. Moreover, you can see from the images that there's a clear religion difference in meat consumption in China. So people from different areas have their old traditional meat preference. Like Xinjiang, for example, is known for its lamb, Tibet and Qinghai for their beef, and the inland areas mainly consume pork. So another thing about Chinese eating habit is that it seems like we eat everything. So for example, chicken feet, with many people from other countries find completely unacceptable. And even wild animals like snake in the past. And in history, when China has many people and not enough food, it was seen as good to not waste food and to respect the animal eaten. So this has been the general attitude towards food among most Chinese people, especially for meat consumption part. However, things are changing right now. As people learn more, as people are getting more richer and getting better education, especially young people, they are becoming more aware of what they are eating. More people care about eating health now. So increasingly, people want to eat greener and healthier, not just for personal health reasons, but also considering environmental protection and animal welfare. This is why our organization, 小步 Vegan, exists. We are the ones making this eating habit shift, and we believe this change is not happening fast enough or involving enough people. Therefore, we hope our work can make more people realize the feasibility and the benefits of a plant-based lifestyle. We want everyone to make a more human choice, starting from the foods on their plates. So what exactly we done? I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you. So from an educational standpoint, we launched vegan debate competitions. We invite people from different industries with different views to debate vegan-related topics offline. And during this whole debate, we ask people to join us as audience, and we will ask them to show their opinion at the end of the debate. And at the same time, we will record the whole debate and we will edit and put it online on our platform. So through all these ideas, we aim to educate more people about plant-based living and animal protection. So our topics include, like, some animals are born to be food. Do you agree or disagree? Or like, plant-based meat can save the world. Do you agree or disagree? So in terms of diets, we have expanded restaurant options by cooperating with different kind of restaurants in Shanghai and in other cities too, to introduce vegan menu, providing more vegan options for dining out. We also partner with local meal delivery service and vegan meal plan brands to offer vegan meal plans for busy workers, like 9-to-5 workers, so they can have more choice and they can just eat vegan easily. And we also do vegan challenge, and we want to encourage people to try like 1 week plant-based diet. And in addition of all this, we also organize various offline and online events to ensure the concept of veganism is accessible to more and more people. And we encourage community support and participation. This event includes like animal adoption, movie screening, and so much other more things. So I have some pictures here to show what kind of events we did before and how many people involved in our events before. And as you can see, the pictures, we also do something like vegan cooking. So we have people sign up to learn how to follow the vegan recipe, so you can make your own vegan dishes at home. So we believe China is a very large and important country, and as an advocate here, I believe it is very important for China to become greener. We hope our efforts can lead to more people realize that human worth begins with your food choice, and to understand the concept, to accept it, and to participate in it. So we know the task ahead is challenging, but with the support, the international support, the group support, we feel that we are not fighting alone. So let's keep up the hard work, and thank you. Thank you, everyone. That's my sharing.
Oh, thank you very much, Monica. That is very inspiring, and it's such useful information about China's culture that I've learned from your slide. And I'm sorry again that I misspelled I couldn't pronounce Xiaobu vegan correctly.
It's okay.
Yeah. And now I would like to invite our third and last speaker, Sarita Joshi, to share the details of FIAPO's educational institution outreach program. Sarita, do you want to share your screen and start when you're ready? Okay, let me see. Can you try unmute? Okay, sorry for technical issues. We'll look at it and we'll try to fix it soon.
Yeah, thank you. I think it worked. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I'll share my screen. All right, thank you so much. So first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to come here and be part of this conference and to share the work that we do at FIAPO with the educational institutions in India. And I would just like to briefly, I made this presentation in quite a rush, I think, and I've not added as much about the background of why we do this. But I just want to tell that so FIAPO has been working for 14 years in India, and in the last decade only, we have seen a huge change in the vegan movement in this country from about 6 years ago, where we were just coming up with innovations and new options in vegan diet and plant-based diet. We now see there is a variety. Like if you go to a supermarket or a store in India, you would have large sections where you would have multiple types of plant-based milks being provided, and people, we see that whether they are vegan or not, they understand the ethics of it or not, have been venturing into these food products. They have increasingly, there has been a trend in people where they want to switch to healthy, ethical and clean food. And that kind of drove us in the direction that if we talk to the young people that are decision makers for tomorrow or are going to get into maybe the professional industries in doing these innovations or being part of the food industry, it would give us some kind of a upper hand in building this movement among an audience which is going to take it further. So for the last 14 years, we've been doing this. We've always worked with young people, and we tried building movements across the country because we say that, we are not a federation if individuals, organizations, groups, and grassroots movements are not part of it. So we've been doing vegan advocacy in this country, and these four, aspects are the main, they're the key core of what we do at FIAPO. So we build awareness about animal rights, and we develop youth leaders. We do community building, and we also promote plant-based diets. So I specifically will be speaking about our college educational institutions outreach program. We call it compassionate campuses also at times. And the goals of this program, like I've written it here. So we want to sensitize these young people who are completely unaware about what happens to farmed animals in India. And, generally when we are in those classrooms, we realize how important it is, because we see that there's this huge gap in their knowledge of how vegetarianism in India is quite big, but it's considered as completely ethical, and no cruelty, is involved in vegetarianism, is what people believe in this country. But while being a vegetarian in India means you will be consuming dairy. And we're able to help them understand how dairy is linked within the meat industry and how it is in itself a very cruel industry. So we try to sensitize the young college-going youth about these aspects. And we also, part of this program is also to build communities within the colleges and universities, the communities that are specifically dedicated to furthering animal rights voices, and also working for the welfare of farmed animals. And we also, the third thing that we do is we try to bring a plant-based shift in the food systems in these campuses, from catering to events to canteens to their menus. Whatever much percentage of veganism they can acquire, we try to, we give them reasons to do it. And we tell them that if you can phase out in your menus from animal-based products to plant-based foods, let's do that over a year. Or you can immediately identify whatever are the vegan products and say them out on your menu, that there are a lot of vegan options that are served in these canteens. So this is the kind of work we do with colleges. And the engagement strategy, or the main way we are able to get into these colleges is these two aspects, these two approaches that we apply. So one, we work with all sorts of colleges and universities that have a national service scheme unit in within their campus. So National Service Scheme is a government associated program or a body in every college, where a lot of students will just come and become part of this scheme or this unit to gain a certification. It is better for them, because if they want to get into any kind of sports or any kind of career, this certificate comes really handy. And in this, under National Service Scheme, they have to pick up any social cause, any one social cause that they will devote their time in certain hours every week to. So we go to colleges and we pitch our program to these students, and we tell them that if you have to pick any cause, why not pick a cause for animal rights? And we teach them through sessions we conduct, and we engage them in a lot of activities where we take them to a couple of shelters, we show them the animals and the conditions and how shelters are run. So we start with, like in this picture, it's showing how my colleague Jagriti, she was a speaker for one of these sessions. We call it Farmed Animals in Us, and we talk about our relationship with farmed animals and how it is a very anthropocentric relationship. And the other thing that we do with specifically with the hotel management institutes. So this is a professional, professional courses universities where students go to get into the culinary industry, to get into the food and tourism industry. And with these institutes and these colleges, we specifically run a culinary workshop, 2-day culinary workshop, where we get Chef Varun, who's also the owner and founder of Bodhi Greens in India. It's a restaurant chain which is completely vegan. And we get him on board, and he's a nutritionist and he is a chef himself. So he conducts a workshop, a quite lengthy workshop on day one. Then he does a demo kitchen for students. And then the next day, there's a competition among the students that have participated in our workshop. And during that competition, they themselves create like a whole 3-course meal in different groups. Multiple dishes are created, and it is all veganized. They don't use any kind of dairy. And so this is how we do our programs. And like I said, so there are a few key elements of our programs in both these in both of these kind of colleges. So we do online and offline workshops. Online workshops actually was never our idea, but due to COVID, we started this program about 2 years ago, and in a very staggered way, but we would get a lot of colleges that were interested after listening to what kind of work we did with another college. Some colleges would just reach out to us and say, can you do a workshop with us? Can you teach our students also? So initially it was just curiosity, and for them it was their hours and their certificates. But we've been able to continue with both online and offline workshops till now, where we talk about farmed animal sentience, veganism, plant-based diets, and food trends also across India. And then we also help. So what happens is that sometimes some of these colleges, the NSS groups, or the college itself, the university itself, will sign an MOU with us or give us a commitment that they would like to reduce or replace the animal-based foods or meals with plant-based foods in there in some way. And they adopt this program called Sustainable Bites program of FIAPO. Or either way, they somehow just, anyways, adopt the whole idea of replacing animal-based foods with plant-based foods in their canteens, even if they don't sign a commitment. So we help them in planning and, executing. We guide them how to execute certain animal rights activities across the year. We give them different days are there, and students only come up with different initiatives. Initially, we tell them, 1 or 2 times we tell them that you can do such an activity, you could do a street play, you could do an outreach. So like in this picture below, all of these are the students of Lady Shri Ram College in Delhi. And they did an animal rights march where they came up with the slogans. They sent it to us. They told us the area they were going to cover outside their college campus, across the locality. And then we just had to be there with them to kind of show our support. And they did it all by themselves. Then we also continue to engage these colleges once a session is done, once a talk is done, or any activity is done. We don't just leave them, because it's part of nurturing a group in the college, which then becomes a proper society or a community which is dedicated to working for farmed animals welfare, as well as speaking for the rights. So in a way, they're like small vegan advocacy campaigns to nurture in the colleges. So this is a glimpse of one of our plant-based culinary workshop. In fact, today I'm giving, I'm sitting for this talk from one of the IHM Institute. I'm in Kurukshetra, and we are at this university. And while I'm doing the session, my colleagues are enjoying really amazing. They're relishing the plant-based dishes that have been created by students. So this is Chef Varun, and first day he will deliver a talk. He will talk about veganism, and he'll differentiate how plant-based diets are about food, about an aspect of what you eat, and how plant-based diets are just a part of veganism, and what veganism in an ethical sense is to these students. And then he does a demo workshop with them where he will prepare about 6 of the basic dishes. He'll make pizzas, he'll make something like butter chicken vegan, because people in India really like a lot of dishes with butter and ghee. So he would veganize everything, and he would show them that it's very easy to make. And on the second day, students themselves prepare these foods. So with NSS groups in the other colleges, this is sort of a glimpse of what our program looks like. So here is one of my colleagues in Pune giving a talk at the VIH Pune Institute to a batch of about 75 or 80 students. And they would talk about farmed animals and our relationship with them, and how animal farming is then also associated with not just cruelty to animals, but to the health sector and the crisis within the healthcare industry, and the environment degradation, and the wildlife, loss of wildlife, and so all of those things. And then this is second picture is of one of the college groups. Yeah, I think they themselves call themselves Living Free. And this is one of their Instagram picture. And on their Instagram page, if you would go there and you would find Living Free, this page, they would say Living Free, the campus volunteer group of FIAPO. They take initiatives on their own. They would do tattoo booths. They would do vegan food tastings. So if there is any fest, any event in the college, they would do some vegan outreach of their own, and they just come up to us, propose a plan to us, and we just give them some resources, whatever they need. And this last picture is of one of the NSS camps. So the National Service Scheme students also have an offsite on-site camp where they go to a village, or they have adopted a village where they'll spend 7 days taking care of that village. So on those 7 days, whatever meals they have, every day they veganize the entire menu, and they by the end of that camp, they kind of have served about 5,600 vegan meals. Yeah, so this is recent. So in January, VIT Pune, this institute shared on their social media page how they took up FIAPO India's initiative of plant-based foods and sustainable bites. And then in Jamgaon, where they held their own camp in this village called Jamgaon, they completely served vegan meals in all 7 days of their camp. So there have been different challenges to this program because India has such a diverse audience, language, and geography always becomes a barrier. But because of going online, and what we also do is through this program, we invite activists across India who are somehow, some of them are situated in South. So if they know a particular language of that very city, of that very locality, we invite them, we train them on how to conduct these sessions, we get them on board, and they conduct the sessions. So we are able to manage through the language and geographical barriers through using Zoom and online platforms, and also inviting local speakers in different areas. Then also inclusion of sensitive audience means that most of the times, like in fact, today at this university where I am, Kurukshetra is one of the areas in India which is highly religious, and second is has a lot of students that come from dairy background, who come from farmer families and have dairies at home. So if we ask them a question in the classroom, they'll say they've seen a cow back at home because their parents are dairy farmers. So how to include this audience in understanding animal cruelty, yet without hurting their sentiments or making them feel like they can't be part of our workshop, is something we do. We package our program as saying, let's talk about animals. Let's just talk about how can we be involved in protection and welfare of animals. So we also do this in 2 ways. We first talk to them about community animals, so companion animals, and then we bring in the idea of the farmed animals and what happens with farmed animals. And most of the times, these students are very receptive. We start the program by telling them that we have not come as a debate. We don't want to, we are not saying that you go vegan today, but you hear us out and you take steps that you can. So this is how we deliver in any of their sessions. And we also do not use any kind of gory pictures or don't show any videos because we believe that, you know, the more compassionate you are in your communication, the more you're on the other side of the table with them. If you're sitting with them and you're at the same level with them, then you can win. And we've been able to see that happen with our program. So in about 2 years, this program has been running for about 2 years now. We worked with about 82 colleges, and most of these colleges, in fact, 90% of them come back to us again and again, asking for a newer batch to be trained about these things. Then we have sensitized faculties and students in these 82 colleges. About 8,430 students and faculties have been sensitized about farmed animals. We've been able to veganize 34,000 plus meals, and 15 animal welfare groups or communities or these campus volunteer groups that work for animal rights and welfare have been developed in 15 colleges. Then 5 of the colleges, including one of the IHMs, has signed a commitment with us where they celebrate 1 day of the month as a complete green day, where all food that is served in the IHM is completely veganized. And also all of the camps that NSS groups are going to do at any point in the year will be completely vegan camps. No dairy, no meat will be served in any of those camps. And through the activities that students have themselves conducted online or in their local communities, 71 such activities have been conducted. And about 93,000 people have been reached out through their efforts. And this number that says 207 students went vegan, this is through, you know, the feedbacks that we have received, the forms that they would write. Sometimes they would message us and say, I'm going vegan today. Pardon me, sorry for the background score. So this is how, you know, this is what this program has been able to achieve so far. And yeah, so these are just some of the testimonials, some of the things that students have written to us at times during the session, during an outreach, while we are in the college with them, or just having a candid discussion. They would tell us, how they found it as an eye-opener for them, and how even though they can't just switch overnight, they would really like to bring down their consumption. So that's about it for me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Sarita, for sharing. And this is really a lot of information to take on. You have been doing quite many activities in India. And for everyone who is joining this session today, you can learn more about Sarita's and Fiapo's work on influencing the youth in India by checking out our AFA podcast, which is now available on various platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and Listen Notes. Sarita has recently kindly shared her work via our postcard. With that saying, I would like to say a huge thank you to our three amazing speakers, Shirley, Monica, and Sarita. Your programs are so inspiring. Like many of us will agree with us. And now is the time for some questions. And I hope that you can open your camera and enjoy the Q&A session. So we have some question about your work, and I hope that it will help people to learn and understand more about the programs. The first question is for Shirley about ProVeg International. So how does ProVeg identify and select promising startups to participate in the incubator program? What criteria are being used and to evaluate their potential for success? Shirley, can you unmute yourself, or if you need help? Okay, fine. While we're waiting for Shirley for technical issue, and we are so sorry for that, let's move to the next question, and I hope Monica can speak now. So can you elaborate more about your cultural factors in historical influences that have shaped China traditional food culture? And how does Xiaobu Vegan navigate these cultural nuances in promoting plant-based diets?
Yeah, can you maybe Tam make the question more detailed? Like what do you mean the culture part? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, so to make it shorter. So like the Chinese food culture is really diverse and really unique, and it's spreading even like present around the globe, and they are very well known for that. But how does Xiaobu Vegan like go over that and have some influence on like you mentioned, like people in China tend to eat everything, but now you're only promoting plant-based. So how does you work that?
Yeah, right. So right now, our organization, we've been doing most of work in Shanghai and like in other big cities too, like Beijing or like in Guangdong. So I have to say the region part is a little bit easier for us because people in big cities are more willing to adapt to the new eating habit. Or they are willing to try more plant-based foods, like no matter it's milk or meat or like egg or other things. So I think the big city part help us a lot to do to our works. And for the education part, people are easier to adapt to the new thoughts too in big cities. That's one part. And for what you're talking about, since people think that Chinese people eat everything, right? So of course we want to, like the whole industry, the whole plant-based industry, we want to replace the meat. But I think right now, or what we want to do, like step by step, is we move from the most consumed meat, like pork, beef and chicken. We changed this first. For example, we now have plant-based pork, plant-based beef, plant-based chicken. And I think in the future, will there be any plant-based chicken feed for Chinese people? I don't know. I wish. So Chinese people might not have the real chicken feed product, and instead we can have the plant-based one. But I think that's like the step-by-step path. So I'm really looking forward to see that, and as a platform to promote this idea and to push all the new plant-based products to the market. We're willing to see more of these brands coming, and we're willing to cooperate with them. Yeah, but I think the step-by-step is more important for us to do.
Yeah, totally agree. I think like every like big achievement, it always starts from small steps. So I really like the name of your organization. It's spot on. We also have a question for Pierre-Paul. So Sarita, for the workshop on farm animals, sentience and speciesism, veganism and plant-based diets, how does Pierre-Paul ensure that the content is engaging and impactful for students with different levels of and familiarity with this topic? Because we are aware like animal sentience and speciesism only been like talked about quite recently.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. So I think we've never had a problem with the content requiring any specific kind of so like I'll simplify. So what happens is that these students that we meet, they barely have any idea of veganism. They have no clue who farmed animals are. This has been my own experience as I speak in a lot of these sessions, and what I see is if I would ask them, do you know what do you think when I say chicken? And all they would think of is butter chicken or chicken legs or something like something edible. And when I say, what about a bird? So it starts very small. We just introduce the idea, what if a chicken has a name, a family, relationships, and we bring in the behavior and facts about how these are very social animals, how they're complex, they're emotionally intelligent, and they're most of the times the students are really surprised to learn that. Then once we have talked about the sentience or these behavioral aspects and the personality aspects of these animals, and we go down from chicken, from a hen to cattle, cows, mostly because in India we are big on cows. At least we think we are very, very warm towards cows, but we're not as a country, because even though we think India is mostly vegetarian, but India is also one of the leading exporters of beef across the world. It's the second or the third largest, right? So we tell them these things, and often we have been surprised at how do students have never ever gone out and looked these things on their own. So it's never a difficulty in engaging them in this in these in these topics, in these sort of aspects, because it's very new to them, and most of the time they have no idea about it. So we go very basic. We don't go big on them. We don't talk about sentience and anti-speciesism in any big sense. We don't do a lot of terminology using, but we tell them concepts with examples. We relate things with human experience also at times. We ask them, like, if we were to be thrown behind, so sometimes we talk about zoos and we say, what if we were to be thrown into places where people would come and watch us and what we do and how we live our days? Would you enjoy it? And most of them, of course, would say no. And then we tell them, then think about when we do that to animals, what would they feel? So their question is like, what do they feel? And that's where often it helps us to have those researches, and there is a lot of animal behavior research, and we tell them that, but this is not even new data. They have been out there for so long. Some of you will choose to probably study wildlife, to study rights of animals or something in your master's, in your later studies, and all of this information will come handy. So I think sharing research, and a lot of times students, they're just willing to listen, because as they're part of NSS groups, they are curious and socially driven in certain ways. but they have never thought, there has never been a figment of imagination in their heads about that a social cause can also be related to animal rights and animal justice movement. So most of the time, this is what we do to engage students.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you to hear. And to follow on that, I'm just interested to learn, like, how can student or university interested in participating in your campaign get started and receive support from your organization? What kind of support they received?
How are you asking how did they get interested in working with us?
Yeah.
I think first time we pitched a program, and so NSS. Actually, NSS is like a wide group across the country. If you work with one college, the news is bound to go to other colleges, and they're always on the lookout for what new things can be done with the students, because in national service scheme groups, students have to take initiatives. So they are always on the look for, and social media platforms like Instagram have helped us a lot. So first time we had pitched it to one of the colleges. FIAPA has always conducted lectures in colleges in past also, but we never thought of it as a whole program before. We never thought that this could develop into building communities in colleges. While it was happening on its own, sometimes these colleges were coming back and they were saying, we have a new batch, we want to talk about veganism. One student would be interested out of the whole 40 lot, and they would say that, can you come and do it? I will take a permission in my college. And we would go, we conduct a lecture, and we would come back. We never thought it has a potential to grow into a whole program where we have steps into how to help them not just learn, but become animal rights advocates. So initially, a few times, we started reaching out during COVID. And my colleague, Jagrati, who's also right now at this institute, she's participating with the students. She's kind of engaging them today. So she used to go to these colleges. And I think we did about 3 such sessions in 3 colleges. And then we had about 7 or 8 colleges just reach out to us and say, hey, you did that with Azim Premji University. Can you come to our college and do this session with us? We learned that they had heard something new, and we would like to show this to our students as well. So they were just interested in taking an initiative that looked different than the other NSS groups. But this is how it worked, and through their social media, they would promote it on their social media. It just really helped us because it travels really fast. And basically, because they're students, they would talk to their peers and they would talk to their friends in other universities as well. And a lot of times, like today at this university in Kurukshetra, the professor, Dr. Ankush, I was speaking with, he is their head of the department for hotel management. And he said that, why didn't you plan it with IHM Kurukshetra? You could plan it with IHM Shimla. And I was like, there's often so much opportunity that you feel like, if you had just enormous amount of funding to back it up with, I could go tomorrow and conduct these things. But it's generally very difficult to do that. Logistics always matter, but there has never been a difficulty in getting leads in colleges. It has never been like that. We generally find that everybody's very receptive to learn, because for IHM students, it's something new, it's a market trend, and also because we bring a chef, we bring people from the industry that tell them that, there is a huge customer base that you need to cater to. And if you're a part of a hotel management or a tourism or food industry, you can't be somebody in the production unit and not know what your restaurant is serving. You have to know it from the reception down to the chef, what is served in our menu. So they really like to learn these things. And when we tell them about plant-based food trends, and we tell them about some of these beautiful influential chefs across the globe, and how there are Michelin star restaurants that are completely vegan, they're just really inspired. And they're like, we could have that in India. And then we tell them about Good Dot also, because Good Dot is one of the, I think one of the richest mock meat company in India. It's one of the leading ones. So we tell them about them, and we say that, but they make meat, and you would not be able to tell it apart. You'll not be able to tell that it's a mock meat. And they're really, really intrigued. So once they have learned it, they share this information with other IHMs and other institutes. Even the professors would give us, yesterday I had a whole pages full in my diary where they were just giving me numbers, and my phone had ran out of battery because I was just clicking pictures, and I was like, just hold on to this information, just give me some of it later also. So it's always good. It's never been a challenge.
That's very nice to hear. I'm so glad that to see like how the veganism movement is going on and really well in India. and it's very inspiring. You have my biggest admiration for your work, and you and your team do. We have one question for again for Xiaobu Vegan. That's the vegan. You have the vegan debate and vegan challenge that are really interesting, and it's really great campaign concept. But how does your team structure these events so it sparks meaningful discussion and encourage participants to explore the plant-based option?
Yeah, you mean specifically for vegan debate, the debate project, or including the vegan challenge?
Ideally both. I'm interested in both, and that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I think, okay, let me start with the debate, because I do realize this is a quite special event, and this is what we do. So the reason why we are doing this debate is because we realize the power of the social media. Like, people are now watching a lot of videos mainly online, no matter TikTok or Twitter, or like there are so many Chinese mainstream platforms too, but maybe some of you might not be that familiar. But so the social media is very important for us to promote our concept. That's one thing. And another thing is, we do realize, like, from a lot of offline events, for example, like vegan Thanksgiving or vegan like Chinese New Year party, like that, we realize there are so many people, they have so many different kind of opinions, and they want to express, but they don't have a proper platform to talk about what they are thinking. And in our community, I have to say, not all of them are vegan or vegetarian. There are a lot of them, they are flexitarian, and they are the friends of their vegan friends, and they also come to join our events. And we realized that at the beginning, they might not buy it, the concept. But after eating some of the vegan meals, they start to really like the food and really enjoying participate in this event. So through all this experience, we realized we want to create a platform or an event for people to express their feelings, and for them to really, during these 2 hours, say whatever you want to say, and you hear the other team to say back about their own opinion. So by doing this, we want to collect more opinions for veganism. So of course, because we somehow feel like when we stay in this industry for a long time, you have friends like vegan friends, vegetarian friends, or people who like animal, they support the environment protection. You feel like, oh, that's the word, or that's the mainstream. But we should also realize there are so many people that outside our group, they have totally different opinions. And we feel like it's important for us to know what they are thinking, what they are like, why they say no to the plant-based, no matter it's food or concept. And we want to learn, so we can, like, when we through all this discussion, we can learn, and we can improve our theory, we can strong our concept. So that's the reason why we are doing this. That's the main reason. And during this event, we will record everything to put online. So not only people who come to join the event can know what is happening, or what's what people are fighting for. And through the videos we post online, people from all over the world, because we have English subtitle too, can realize, okay, so what's the argument. And especially, we think people from the other, like outside of China, I think they want to know what Chinese people are thinking about this concept, because China sometimes can be a little bit mystery, right? So it's hard to get like what you are thinking, what's your idea about this concept. Maybe you only eat tofu for the plant-based protein, right? So things like that. that's what the reason why we're doing this, the debate part. And for vegan challenge, we're doing vegan challenge like a lot of other organizations. We encourage people to join the challenge, to really try it, to during this time go to the restaurant, vegan friendly restaurants or vegan restaurants, and they can get the coupon during the challenge period. So yeah, so I think I have more to say for the debate part. For the vegan challenge part, it's also very interesting. And other organizations are doing the similar things too, but maybe with different time frame. We are doing like 1 week. Some other organizations, they're doing 22 days or like even longer or a little bit shorter. So I don't know if that answers your question, Tan.
Yeah, that's perfectly. Thank you very much, Monica. And yeah, I agree with you like totally that we need to listen from both sides. So we don't like always listen to vegan already like opposed to the public like meat eater, but also need to hear from people from the other side, like why it's so difficult to change. It is because of this and that, and it's helped us to understand and be more effective. And we have some like comments in the chat with that from one of the attendees to this session, and say like he or she really loved your work in wherever you are in your country, in China, in India, and internationally with Pro-Veg, and he or she wished that this could happen in Nigeria. So do you think that your projects could be done in other countries outside your own? And if so, then what advice do you want to give so that it could be like more effective? And I think this is a question for both, if you don't mind.
Maybe Monica can answer first.
Yeah, okay. So I think from my part and the other like the experience maybe I want to give to maybe the other countries. I've been talking with quite a lot of group leaders, organization leaders from different countries. I think maybe being more open-minded is very important. Like what I said before, we can still be friends with maybe meat eaters and learn from them, like why it's so hard to change, and maybe they want to change but they failed. Just need to be more open-minded and collect opinions and experience from different kind of group of people, so to come back to help our own industry, the no matter it's plant-based or alternative protein or animal welfare, or the big family to grow up. So I think that's very important. And if it comes to what we are doing here in China, can give advice to people from other countries. I think outside of China, there are so many other countries and with different backgrounds and situations. Maybe if I have like more specific knowledge for the specific country, I can give more information. So if you want to talk to me more, can contact me. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd have the same answer as Monica. I think if anybody from any other country is interested in running a similar program or having a similar kind of campaign in their country, I wouldn't know the demographic you have. I wouldn't know what the culture and the barriers to that program could be, but I'd be very, very happy to connect if anybody's interested. Please replicate any of the materials that we have if you would like to. We'd always be open for that, because what we have is very India specific. We are like a multilingual country. So we have different kind of challenges, but if you could learn anything, I would love to share reports. I can connect one-on-one also if anybody would like.
Amazing, so amazing, Sarita and Monica. And yeah, we are here, AFA are here for that reason. We're here to connect and unite people, organizations, and individuals working for animals. For us, it's farm animal, but we have other working groups on all species. So yeah, let's come to us. We can help connect you with the right person for your work and your campaign. Yep. Okay, we might have a last questions probably for this session, and for everyone. So, and this one could be for both as well. So everyone is probably know that it's incredibly toxic for that the public discourage regarding veganism, and at least in some English language and some forums. But even in my language, my country, there's so many social posts, social media posts, and they're not. There are many people who discourage us and say. Being cruel and even bullying sort of behavior from people who oppose our idea or like veganism, plant-based. How much is this an issue for in your work and your culture? And it is something like you think it could be overcome with, or any any tips or like explanation of your culture, or whether you face that as well could be helpful.
Okay, maybe Sarita, you can start first.
All right. I think it's one of the, I think the question comes packed with a lot of, I don't know, I have a lot of things to say about that, and we have faced a lot of challenges. I think for us, it is how the current environment of a country, whatever the socio-political environment we have, is very, very complete opposite of the work we do. And we face a lot of backlash at times. But I think how we have been able to continue to do the work that we do is by trying to package it in whatever is really, really trendy for people. Like if people are on board for health, we will talk to you about health, but we will come and talk to you about animals as well while talking to you about health. And I think it is discouraging. It is very, very discouraging when people go on social media, and like we have these trollers that would come on our social media posts and say things like that. We've even had it during our sessions. There are times students that would heckle with us. Somebody would mute us, throw us out of the room if we are on a Zoom call. But then we keep reminding ourselves that, you know, the more we continue to do this, there will be a lot of people who will come on board and kind of like sharing small wins as a big achievement within the teams, encouraging each other, learning about, and we always look back at like what 10 years ago where we were. We had we had barely any options other than soy milk in our country. We could not find any other plant-based milks in this country, and the cost of almond milk used to be 395 rupees per liter. Right now, because there is so much of demand, it's come down to 290 rupees per liter in our country. So we see that the movement is growing. You know, the trends and the choices in people are really, really changing. And this ethical stance takes a while to come, but it will surely come. So we kind of like hang on to the hope of it, and we try and listen to what people are saying, what they like, and then we sort of pack our content into whatever they like and then share it with them. And very, very politely we do it. And at FIAPA, we've always maintained that in our communication, we'll always be nonviolent. We may be feeling like we're fuming and fretting inside, but we'll never let that come to our audience. We can take a little bit of a hit because the cause that we're working for is super big. So you can't lose by losing patience. So we kind of keep a very non-violent communication about whatever we say. Yeah. Over to you, Monica.
Yeah, I think for this topic, in China too, I do have a lot of things to say. Because why some people are having quite bad opinion towards veganism is, I think the main reason is they don't know about this concept, and they refuse to learn. So for the things they don't know, it's easier for them to just say no to them and go with the way they feel comfortable with. So that's I have to say maybe the human's nature for a lot of things. So that's one thing. Another thing could be for the price issue. We all know that maybe plant-based products are quite new for the whole food industry. And no matter it's the meat or the milk or the egg, it's not quite hard for normal people to afford. Like in China, a lot of people think, oh, if you eat plant-based meat or like artificial meat, you must be quite rich, and they can only be found in big cities. If you want to try anything in the small cities, restaurants, it's just impossible. So the price part is also another issue. So when people see there are a group of people promote this concept or this kind of product, they will feel like they've been insulted to say, oh, okay, you are so rich, or only you can afford this, I cannot. So some bad words will come after that. So that's also the thing. So when we are doing our work, we are trying to go from the way that we want to be friends with you. That's also the reason why we are calling ourselves 小步 vegan, like XBV, step by step. We don't want to turn people from like today you are meat eater, tomorrow you become vegan or vegetarian. Instead we say, hey, why don't you just try 1 day vegan for 1 week? And like, okay, how about this Saturday, you go to a vegan restaurant just for 1 meal with your friends and support the vegan industry, like things like that. Or if people care about health, then we can list a lot of information about how plant-based diet is healthier than the meat eating diet, that part. Or for people who are fan of dogs and cats, we also have our strategy to get to know them or get closer to them, to let them think about maybe other animals' life is not as much like big difference as your dog and your cat. So by doing this, we want to encourage we want to be more soft, and we want to encourage people, different kind of people, to join our groups in different ways. So we don't want to be too strict, and we don't want to be like, if you don't do this, you cannot join this group. So that's not what we want to do, because if you do that, you will just have more enemies. So yeah, but I do realize there are a lot of people saying bad things about this concept, and sometimes maybe even the official parts, we don't get that much support. But I do think things are start to change, and more, especially young people are taking this concept, and they are willing to at least try.
Yeah, thank you very much, both Monica and Sarita. Very well said. And yes, that's why we need to work with everyone, and together we go further, right? And as you can see, if you can read in the chat, there's so many good comments about your work. Many thanks to our speaker, amazing speaker today, and they said they have learned quite a lot. So thank you very much for spending your time. I know how busy you are. And to everyone, that's the end of our session. But please stay with us a bit longer so we can announce the upcoming events within AFA in the coming time. Over to you, Brooke.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Again, thank you so much for coming today. And thank you, Sarita and Monica and Tang and Shirley in her absence, for being here and just sharing your inspiring work with everybody. You, the audience, we would love to have your feedback on how you thought the sessions went today. If you want to use the QR code there, you can use that in order to complete our feedback form, which will really help us inform future events and make sure that they work best for you. We can go on to the next slide. Another announcement just to remind you about our upcoming Connect sessions. So this was the first Connect session yesterday and today. We've got other sessions planned for June, August, and November. We don't have registration open for those yet, but we're busy making really good plans, and we hope you will keep your eyes on our social media channels and our website for more information about these and how to register when the time comes. Also, if you're able to make any of our in-person events, we have regional farm animal coalition events planned for Philippines and India at some point this year. We don't have the dates precisely set yet for those, but again, watch this space for further information on those. And we have Asia Farm Animal Day, which has been a growing event over the past several years now. It's been really great, really successful. It will be in Hanoi this year in October. Again, watch our social media spaces and our website for more information on these. And finally, our podcast. This again is a new thing for 2024 for us. We have launched 5 or 6 episodes already, and they vary in subject matter, in length and style. There's something for everyone. Many of them are made by our working groups. So we have things that are specific to macaques, dogs and cats, policy, farm issues, and more. You can find these podcasts pretty much anywhere you normally get your podcasts, probably. But if you can't find them in your regular podcast platform, just go to our website and you can always listen directly from there. That's it. Thanks everyone for joining. You're welcome to go on your way now.